Governor Ron DeSantis pushes toughest immigration crackdown in the U.S. I haven't read this one. Tell me about this. What is this?
Oh, Florida now has immigration laws that the entire country should have.
Okay. Bills would expose.
Essentially, it's you don't if you hire an illegal immigrant, you shelter or transport an illegal immigrant, uh, you are in violation of the law.
Unless you're
If
sending them to
you,
Martha's Vineyard, right?
yeah, if you are a uh, hospital,
Mm-hmm.
hospitals will ask you, or if you're at a hospital, hospitals will ask you for your immigration status, and hospitals have to report to the state.
Do they continue to treat them if they have their arm cut off?
Yes,
Okay, just checking.
that doesn't say that they don't treat them. That
It just
says
says they report it.
they
Okay.
ask, they ask and report.
Okay.
And the Florida state law enforcement has to assist federal authorities in enforcing national immigration laws.
Invalidate out-of-state driver's licenses issued to immigrants in the country without legal permission. I mean, he's gonna put together a team to do that. Is the DMV gonna do that? Gonna have to hire some
Probably.
people. Okay. And direct Florida Department of Law Enforcement to provide assistance to federal authorities in enforcing the nation's immigration laws. That's fine. He can direct the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to do things. That's fine. It's separately proposed eliminating in-state college tuition for students in the country without legal permission and beneficiaries of the Obama-era DREAM Act, DACA, program known as DACA, who were brought to the United States young children. So he's cutting the DACA?
Yeah.
That's a dumbass idea. Why do these guys hate freedom? They do. They hate freedom.
No.
Yes.
No.
That Ron DeSantis is anti-freedom. He is control. He is controlling these things. He does not want these people here, and in an attempt to make that happen, he is creating legal barriers. He is laying down barriers, laying down walls, creating a fortress. Fortresses aren't free. They're strict. They're controlled. They're regimented. And you can say you agree with the building of the fortress, which is what he's doing.
Fortresses are designed to protect the people within them.
Mm-hmm.
Are they not?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
But they're not freedom. The fortress is an opposite of freedom entirely. A fortress is strict control. Who goes in, who goes out.
Build a fortress.
Uh-huh.
And let's say you're Rome.
Sure.
And you build a fortress. Fortress has a purpose.
Yes.
Fortress
I didn't say it doesn't have a purpose.
To restrict the freedom of the Goths to invade you.
Sure. You want the power to protect your people.
Yes.
It is.
Do you think that a fortress is inherently bad?
No. They're inherently restrictive.
Well, sure. And we restrict things all the time, don't we? I mean, I have the freedom to punch somebody in the face, but we restrict that freedom
with consequences afterward. Yes.
Consequences, right? So it's not. I don't think your characterization of this is necessarily fair.
Okay. Because
I think that sure, people have the freedom to come into the country without legal authority to do so, or to overstay their visas, which are the two major ways that people come in the first place. But you know, this is a crackdown on, or this imposes consequences
Mm-hmm.
for doing it and for allowing it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So when people come here illegally,
Mm-hmm.
do not hire them. Do not
Okay.
give them somewhere to stay. They are not supposed to be here. I think this is great. I think the whole country should adopt this kind of law.
And if it harms our economy, would you still be okay with that? Because it will. If you live in the state of
Sure.
Texas and you eat a salad, you support illegal immigration. You do. If you're in the state of Texas and you eat a piece of lettuce, it was most likely picked by an illegal immigrant.
Yes, probably at much lower than
Which is why
the
this
minimum wage.
which is why this hiring thing won't fly. That's why this is
Well, corporations will hate it.
theater. The
I mean,
corporations
if
will hate
you're
it. Okay.
they will,
Yes,
because
I
you can
agree.
hire illegal immigrants for less than minimum wage, right?
Right.
Right, and you want to hire workers at the lowest possible amount if you can.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, uh, that hiring bit means that corporations actually have to pay citizens to do the job, and those citizens have to be paid a fair wage.
Okay.
This is good for wages. It might
I
not be great for the economy.
It'll raise their prices.
It'll raise prices for
Okay.
sure, but
And
it's also good for wages.
I think that's fine if you've made a way for these people to become citizens. If you make a way for
Why?
these people, why? Because they're good for the economy. They're helping. They're literally doing jobs. Job creators are great things. If you ask a conservative, hey, job creators, ooh, we love them.
That's not a job creator.
It
That's
liter-
a job filler.
I have a large corporation and I grow lettuce out of the ground, and then I hire people to plant it. I hire people to farm it. I hire people to harvest it. I hire people to transport it. This is job creation. And
That's the
in my
corporation that's
greed,
doing that.
yes, it's a corporation. It's a corporation, job creators, right?
The
I
people
mean,
filling those jobs are
in
not
my
job
greed,
creators.
no, the people filling the jobs aren't, but the company that's hiring them is. The company that's
Uh-huh.
hiring them, in their greed, hires the cheapest person they can, which is an illegal person.
Right.
And
And this
if
says you don't get to do
they
that anymore. Now you
couldn't
have
do
to
that,
pay a fair wage to a citizen.
great. And if there's not enough citizens
Pay
to
him
do the
more.
jobs, no, there's not enough. If there's literally not enough people to do the job,
There are enough.
there aren't.
There are. I'm telling you there are. There are
Okay.
enough people that have dropped out of the workforce that would come back if you paid them a wage that is commensurate to the job you're asking them to do,
Okay.
right? Illegal immigration drives wages down. If you want wages up, then you have to have competition in the labor market on the side of the corporations. It's not the laborers that should be competing with each other for who can do the job for the least amount. It should be corporations that are competing with each other for how much can we pay you to do this job,
Hmm.
right? This brings wages up. If you have less labor, less available labor, then what you're going to have is competition by the corporations to hire people, which means that wages go up. That is a good thing, right? Wages going up.
I want wages to go up, but I don't think
Well,
illegal immigration drives
this
them
is how
down.
it absolutely does. It adds not only it does two things. First of all, illegal immigration adds adds numbers to the labor pool, which means that there is more available labor.
Okay.
And the second thing it does is it allows for companies to avoid the price floor for that labor.
Hmm.
you can pay illegal immigrants less than the minimum, right? So the
Yes.
minimum wage is effectively a price floor, and illegal immigration gets around that price floor by allowing you to pay somebody less money than the minimum for the work, right?
Hmm.
So you do two things. It's you um, you introduce more competition for the labor,
Hmm.
and also you avoid the price floor. That's how illegal immigration reduces wages.
Okay. And if they were citizens, this would be better. They would then have to be paid the proper wage,
They
and they
would,
yes, and
but
then they would be
why
capable
would
of using it
do you
and
think
paying
that
into taxes.
do you think there should be any requirement for being a citizen?
Requirement? I didn't have one. I
Well, you
was
were
just
born here, right?
born here. I didn't have very much say in that decision. Uh,
Okay. If you were to go to
I was born this way. I didn't
let's
choose it.
say you wanted to move to the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm. Because they're super socialists, and I want to go there. Uh,
Yeah. Um,
I
is
agree.
there a requirement there?
I accept the idea of requirements. I didn't say
Oh,
I
you
don't.
do.
I don't want there to be nothing. I want there to be less restrictive, uh,
Do you think that if you moved,
possible
if you flew into the
bigotry.
Netherlands, let's
Hmm.
say on a tourist, uh, or under the guise of being a tourist, and then you started working a job there, and
Fell in love with it.
you
Thought it was
rented a
great.
house and
Yeah,
thought it
love
was
it.
great, and you
That's
just stayed there,
having
do
a
you think that
life.
they don't have the right to remove you?
I think they should, if they're a proper, good government, give me a way to change. Either,
They have a way. They have requirements.
right, they have requirements, and I think those requirements ought to
Now,
be
if
decent.
you
They ought to,
don't,
the requirements ought to be built in a way that you can achieve them and then stay. After you've jumped over the hurdles, uh, you, they should be hurdles, not a fortress. They should be hurdles that I have to get over to get into the country and stay there, instead of a fortress which is locking people out, which is what I've already called DeSantis' thing, fortress. If
see,
you want these people, make them jump over hurdles. Sorry, I interrupted.
that's the thing though, is that Netherlands has a very large social program, right? I mean,
Hmm.
I'm not going to call them socialist. They're not.
I know. I was being
Um,
facetious.
but my understanding of the Netherlands is that if you want to move there, it requires first of all, it requires a certain net worth.
Okay.
It requires that you have a very particular skill that is needed
Hmm.
by a particular company. So
Hmm.
you're going to be employed already when you come there,
Hmm.
when you go there. Essentially, yes, the Netherlands has these social programs, but if you are an immigrant there, you will be one of the people that is contributing to them rather than is uh, using them.
Those sound like hurdles. I'm
They
not
are
super in
hurdles.
love with the net worth hurdle. I think that's probably a bad hurdle. But are they doing felony charges to people who hire you? Are they doing
They'll
felony
deport you.
charges? Deport you. But felony charges to anybody who sheltered you.
I'm not sure, and I could
And
look into Dutch immigration law
I'm not sure
and
either.
find out. I
If
bet you
they
they do.
if they do, then they're also building a fortress, and I don't like it.
Fortresses are required
No.
to support these programs in the first place.
Fortresses are anti-freedom. And I recognize that you might need them sometimes, but I don't think we need a fortress when it comes to the poorest of the poor trying to get a job and make a better life. That's not where I want the fortress built.
It's not the well, they are poor, yes, but they're also not Americans.
So I don't care. I just don't care that they're not Americans. If I if the American empire collapsed and I had to trek from my current place to across the Canadian border to get a job to feed these smelly children over here, I would do it. And you wouldn't stop me. No imaginary line in the dirt can stop me. People can stop me if they build a fortress and they build these laws. They build felony charges preventing me. But an imaginary line in the dirt won't.
Well,
If there's a
those
better,
are
if
not
there's,
felony charges for you.
they
They're
would
felony
be
charges
if they were
for the companies that hire you.
okay. And if they did felony charges for that company and they deported me, and I saw this as my only recourse, that's what I would do. I would do it again. That's why they have those repeat people coming over to again and again and again. They cross the border and then they work and then they get shipped back and then they do it again. This isn't because they're bad people. This isn't because they think that the laws don't apply to them. It's because they're desperate.
Never
People,
said they were bad people.
I know you
I
didn't.
never
I know
accused
you're
them
not
of being
suggesting them of being okay. Okay, you're
anything.
not. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You didn't.
they have reasons that they want to come here.
Right.
Yes, that's fine. We have reasons that we don't want people to come here.
And I think they're bad reasons. I think the
Well, you
reasoning
can think that.
behind
That's fine.
Mr. DeSantis'
But
bill is not a good thing. I think the reasoning is because it's easy to shit on them. It's easy to talk trash about them. It's easy to, they're an easy target. Oh, yeah, your economy's bad? Probably the immigrants. You know, things not going right. You lost your job? Immigrants. What's that? You don't like the way the country's going? Yeah, immigrants. Too
got it
many
backwards the whole way.
crimes?
Nope.
Immigrants. They blame
No,
the Republicans blame all of those problems on immigration.
no, they don't. They
Yeah,
blame
they
all those
do.
problems on Democrats, and it's true.
And the Democrats that are allowing the immigration. It's Joe Biden's border policies. I'm pretty sure it's fucking right here, isn't it? Joe Biden's open border agenda. He's literally doing it right there. Ron DeSantis blaming problems in this country on Joe Biden's open border agenda.
Well, I
Because
have to
it's
ask you this.
easy.
Do you
It's
actually
easy.
think? Do you actually think that any part of that first paragraph, which is the only one that actually is describing the law,
Okay.
not that one.
Oh, this
Scroll
one, sorry.
down.
Oh, sorry. This one down here.
That
Bills
first
would
paragraph.
expose people to felony charges for sheltering. Dumb idea. Hiring and transportation of immigrants. Ron DeSantis
Who are in the
transported
country
immigrants one
without legal
time.
permission.
Yes, that's dumb.
Require hospitals to
Waste of
verify
time.
immigration status
Waste of time.
and report it, and invalidate out-of-state driver's license for illegal immigrants.
Does not help our country. Only harms people. It harms the weakest and the poorest and the most oppressed. It also
It does help our country.
no, not in
Yes.
any way.
Yep, it absolutely does. Especially in terms of the labor market. Fucking
NPR says
jobs,
economists
they-
disagree on whether
jobs.
or how much influx immigration depresses wages.
Yes,
Economists disagree.
They depress wages for certain groups, like teenagers or workers without a high school diploma. In other words, the poorest of our people.
Okay. Some have found that the new immigration depressed wages for certain groups, such as teenagers or workers with a high school diploma or less. Others say the overall effect of the economy is tiny, and an influx of immigration workers vitalizes the economy overall. Tiny.
Because when you have, so what you're not understanding about economics is that economists are looking at an overall input and output. So everything they want everything to come out with the lowest possible price, right? So the production of something, let's say coal, for example, the production of coal. If you have you have two resources, right? You have the coal that's in the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and you have the labor that is required to extract it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Those two inputs you want to be at the lowest possible price so that you can produce the product, which is the mined coal, right? As your output. which means that yes, if you have more available labor and more available coal, the price of coal will go down because you have more available coal, and we have a supply-demand balance there.
Mm-hmm.
And then on labor, you have the same thing, supply-demand balance. If you have a greater supply of labor, that means that the price of labor will go down to reach equilibrium.
Okay.
And so you want more inputs so that your output costs less overall. That is what those economists are looking at.
Okay. Are there
The ones that say that
So there are economists that disagree with what you just said. Do you think we could find one? Just curious. But then you can go on.
there are economists that disagree with what.
With
No,
the
there's
description.
literally no economist
Nobody
that
disagrees with
what I
that.
was saying.
Okay.
If you ask any economist, does an increased supply of a particular good or service or commodity, which labor is a commodity according to economists, does a greater supply of a commodity translate to a reduced price for it?
Okay.
And the answer, every economist will always tell you yes.
I'm agreeing with you there. So far, all the economists on board for supply and demand. I'm on board for that. I get that. But when you get into the areas of immigration, of wage, of labor theories, economists start to disagree, don't they?
They do because of the stratification of the effect. So, like it says right here, it says that new immigrants suppress wages for certain groups like teenagers or workers with a high school diploma or less. So your lower tier workers, right?
Okay.
It is true that a certain amount of immigration actually increases wages for higher tier workers.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where the disagreement comes from, is if your blue collar people make less because of immigration, but your white collar people make more, they didn't really depress wages.
Right. Exactly. Economists disagree because the economy is unknowable. I don't trust economists. Yes, it is entirely. They cannot agree. Economists disagree on everything.
Okay. Let me put it
because
this way.
they will.
No, they don't. They don't disagree on everything. They agree on just about everything. They disagree on the interpretation of their own data.
Then what good are they? What worth have they?
To see what the data is itself. The blue collar people, when we have immigration, blue collar people make less. Okay? White collar people make more. And that makes sense too, because guess what? When you have that extra labor supply, what happens? What happens is you get to pay blue collar people less, and the white collar people, the managers and whatnot, get to make more because their profit margins are higher because they're paying people less. That's why economists disagree on whether there's an impact on wages, because...
Which is why they should just be citizens. Problem goes away.
Why?
Because
it doesn't go away
they're here
at all.
and they're working. Yes,
no,
it does.
It doesn't go away at all.
Because they're here and they're working, they're Americans now.
It still depresses the wages for blue-collar people at the same rate, whether you make them citizens or not.
How? Now they're making minimum wage.
Because
that high school diploma, that high school worker, that teenager, is now the same price as the illegal immigrant.
Okay.
It solves the problem.
And it doesn't, though, because all you do then is you then compress your wages all the way down to that minimum, because if there is enough competition for the job itself, if your laborers are competing for the job, they will all take minimum wage. Whereas if your corporations are competing for the labor, they have to pay more than minimum wage in order to get that labor to work for them. If you are making $7.50 per hour and another company offers you $10 an hour, you're going to go take that job, right? The problem there is that if you have so many people trying to get jobs that are all willing to take $7.50 per hour, then you're never going to have another company that offers $10 an hour to come fill a different job, because that $10 an hour, why would you? Why would you offer $10 an hour when you can find somebody just fine who will do it for $7.50?
Okay. You're not telling me why they shouldn't be citizens.
Well, yes, I am.
I'm not. Whatever point you're getting to, I'm not getting it. And it's probably because I don't comprehend the economy, because I don't trust it. I don't believe it. I think that economists are liars who will say whatever they want to get their point across.
Allowing, all right, I'll put it in one
Okay.
sentence.
Okay.
Allowing unrestricted, unregulated immigration.
I didn't suggest unrestricted or unregulated.
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
Increases the labor pool to a point
Okay.
where you will no longer have a fair value for wages.
I
of wages.
I mean this seems like religion to me. I mean it really does. I don't comprehend how you got to that point, and I don't comprehend that the idea of it entirely. Um,
I really,
Economists are a religion to me. Every time I hear one, every time you talk to me about the economy, all I hear is the ecclesiastical, why the Holy Trinity is the way that the Holy Trinity is, that the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I hear. It could be a me problem. This could be a severe lacking on my part, and it probably is. I would suggest
it
it is a
is.
severe
And
lacking
I
on leftists'
actually,
parts, on all
I'm gonna
leftists.
go ahead and recommend, Waldo. I recommend that you take an economics 101 class.
Okay.
Just do it. Just go to just
So
apply to a college.
I think
And the
it's
$300.
uh-huh. And
Just take an economics 101, please.
just go in there to go to church and hear what the preacher has to say, and it'll all start to make sense.
Except that this
That's
all
what you're telling me.
actually applies. It all applies. It's all
Except that
logical. It's
it
it's
isn't.
actually,
No, it's
to
not
me,
logical.
it's
It's not
intuitive.
logical at all. It's intuitive to you
It
because
is.
you've been brought up in that you've been brought up in the Church of Economists, so you comprehend their uh, doctrine. You comprehend the scripture of the economists. So these aren't new words. When you say economy words to me, they buzz, and I'm like, wait, what does that one mean again?
This
It's like
is
you're speaking
not.
French, and I only know
No.
like 4 words in
Okay.
French.
This is like someone denying the science behind vaccines.
I
That's what you're doing
agree
right now.
that I'm denying the science behind vaccines. No, biology is far more hard science than economy. Far more.
The economy has many, many years of study. Like,
Yes, and it's
who-
by economists who I don't trust. I suspect that they are liars.
everybody who studies the economy is an economist.
Yes, and they all lie
Therefore, if
so
I
that they can make
study
more money.
the economy,
Yes.
it makes me an economist. Therefore, my explanation to you is no longer valid because I studied the economy.
Right, now you're getting it. The economists tell you what the economy is, and then when you ask them how the economy works, they give you the economist answer.
This is too ridiculous, man.
I
Come
am
on.
being very conspiratorial right now. I am doing that. But this is and I'm gonna tell you that the left has a problem with this. They always have. Do they not? Is the left weak on the economy?
Yes,
They
they are
always been?
really stupid on the
They are
economy.
really stupid on the economy. I agree. The leftists are bad at the economy, and I'm gonna suggest because it doesn't hit right in our brains. I will try to okay, and I recognize that you are far more experienced and understanding in this, and you usually explain it, and I don't get it. Yeah, South Park did an economy episode, and it's gone. You
I
know,
haven't seen it.
okay.
I'll have to watch.
He puts $200 in the bank, and then the bank says, okay, and it's gone because it was gambled and lost. And then there was a chicken involved with wherever the chicken poops. That's where the stocks go. Um, so anyway, I'm suggesting. Here's what I'll suggest, and then you tell me what an economist would say about it. One, set up some hurdles. If you're here illegally, set some hurdles. You have to fill out some paperwork. You have to go to the DMV. You have to fill out these forms. You have to get a temporary driver's license that's a certain color, different than all the other ones. And then if you actually broke some laws, you have to pay a fine, and that fine can come out through the IRS. And then after so many years, you are a citizen. That's the whole thing. And then if you have one of those green, what we call them green cards, but it would be a different color. If you have one of these temporary licenses, then you could be hired and sheltered. I mean, is this going to ruin the economy?
Already.
So
no, we have that already.
We have that already.
And I actually forget what it's called. Let me just Google that really quick because I know we already have that program.
Okay. If we have that program, why the hell does Ron DeSantis need to create felony charges and kill the DACA Act?
Yeah, the program is called the H-1B.
H-1B. Okay, I've heard of that before.
Yeah, it's for skilled workers to come to do a job that we need them to do. And they do it for a very specific amount of time.
You apply for that. You apply to that before you get here.
Yes, you do.
Okay. What?
You also have work visas that you can apply for before you get here. You come to do a job, and then your visa expires and you go away.
Okay, great. There's 6 million people who are already here. Probably closer to 11 million. 6 million might be an old number, but there's right around.
That is a really old number because it was 11 million in 2012, and we're probably looking at 20 million now.
Okay, what do we do for the 20 million people? We need a realistic plan.
So you came here under something we agreed to, and then that agreement expired, and you should have gone away, and you didn't. Go away.
Are we going to load up trains? What are we doing? How do they go away? They literally pay rent every month. They might even have a mortgage. Hell, they literally they're part of the country. They're here. Well, they have a house. They have a car payment. They have bills. They pay the water bill.
Well,
they have children in school.
Landlord.
Penalize
the landlord.
The landlord. Yep. Felony charges for sheltering and hiring.
Penalize the landlord.
Severe.
We penalize
increase.
We penalize the mortgage company that issued a mortgage to a.
But they had an H-1 visa when they took it on. H-1B visa when they took it on. You see how muddy this entire process gets. Once you start charging people for felonies, the process gets ugly and painful. Jose had a H-1B visa. He moved here. He did all the right things. He got here. He did a job for a year. He had rent for a year. He paid his rent. He paid his bills. He has a wife. He has kids. Now that visa has expired and he stayed because he has a life here. After that first month, a month after it expired, it expired in January, and he paid rent in February. Is that landlord a felon?
Yes. However, there are also legal avenues for all of the things you just described. So if he has a family, okay, if you get married to a U.S. citizen, right, there are legal avenues to take to retain legal immigrant status without having to have a job. If you have a child that is a U.S. citizen, this is the whole anchor baby argument.
I know, yeah.
You have legal avenues to take to argue that you can stay here. Okay. All of those things are things that the individual must take. Like, if you don't file for this shit, then how is the state supposed to know that they should let you stay here?
That's if they didn't file for it, then tell them to file for it. That doesn't make you a felon.
It doesn't make them a felon. It makes the people that shelter them or hire them a felon.
So the person who's collecting rent from Jose needs, by law, to comprehend his immigration status every month.
Yes.
That's insane.
It's not every
That
month.
will lead.
You can make it a yearly thing. You check
and
up and say, hey,
and if it
what's up?
was and if 6 months into the year he lost it and you kept charging him rent and he kept paying rent for 6 more months, what happens? You go to court and you have to prove this shit? You're gonna gum up the courts for 20 million people. 20 million people pay rent of some sort.
If he loses it after 6 months and you had a established relationship there where he was renting from you, and then let's say he loses that status after 6 months, I would bet that your next, so like if you have it every year you verified, right?
You re-sign the lease or something along those lines.
So along those lines, then it'd be when it came time to re-sign the lease again,
mm-hmm.
it would be okay.
You have to
Hey,
check.
Do you have your card? Like, what's your status right now?
Okay.
And if not, then now if you allow them to continue staying there, or him specifically.
Yeah, Jose has lost his H-1B status after 6 years. He's lost it and can't get it refilled. And he just keeps paying rent for 6 months, and then the landlord checks up on it and says, hey, you've lost it. What does the landlord do? Kick him out?
Yes. That is what has to happen.
That is awful. And it will lead to 20 million families being on the street. It is a...
People.
Not
people. Families.
Or 20 million people being on the street. This is awful. And then, if we find out that that's going to happen, I'll never be a landlord for anybody on H-1B visas. H-1B visas. That's a hard thing to say. H-1B visas. I'll just never rent to anyone because they could lose it. And then I'm a felon. They won't be able to get a house. They won't be able to pay rent. They won't be able to live anywhere. If you have bad credit, people won't rent you a house. H-1B visas will
Your view is very U.S.-centric.
My view is U.S.-centric. I'm suggesting that we don't have borders at all. I'm pushing for 30 years from now. There's no such thing as a border. And I'm U.S.-centric.
So it is going to be tough if we kick out, 20 million people.
20 million people.
It's going to be tough. It's going to suck. But
yeah,
it's not out on the streets, is it? It's
they can't,
to the country of origin for them.
That they haven't lived in for years. Or their kids left when they were 2. These DACA kids, deferred action for childhood arrivals. Their parents brought
their
them
children. In this case, their children are likely born here.
No, that's not what DACA means. DACA means you were not born here. DACA means you were born in Mexico, and at 2 years old, you were brought into the country, into America.
So it was a mistake that never should have been made.
And then they live here for 10 years. And then the 12-year-old...
We allowed it for 10 years.
Right. And then they have to go back to Mexico,
we have to correct
a place they've never been. No, yes, correct the mistakes by allowing them to stay. Don't correct the mistakes by kicking 20 million people out of their homes and putting them on trains to a country they haven't been to before. Correct the mistake, not by creating felony charges. Correct the mistake by coming up with a system that lets them become documented.
Well, we have tried that.
Amnesty back when
we did amnesty back in the Reagan days, and it's actually the reason that I don't like Reagan. We did amnesty, and the agreement was supposed to be that we do amnesty in return for border security. Massive changes to our immigration rules. And it was an agreement that Reagan came up with alongside the Democrats in the House and Senate. And we did the amnesty, and then we never actually overhauled the immigration system. So the Democrats lied. They
Good.
won the amnesty,
I'm telling you,
and then they
border
fucked us
security.
over in terms of border security.
Every single dollar spent on border security is wasted. Garbage. You might as well set it on fire. It's worthless. It is harmful
you know what we should do instead?
not good. Create a way to come here and register.
You know what we should do instead of border security?
What?
We should make it a felony to shelter, hire, or transport illegal immigrants.
No. You're
You hit the
building the
companies.
fortress. You're building the fortress, man. You're putting up them walls, baby. Build that
Every
fortress.
country is a fortress.
And
It's just a matter of how strong it is.
I think fortresses are anti-freedom. That's what I'm telling you. My purpose, my point, my direction is always towards freedom. Fortresses are the opposite of freedom. That is, if you don't understand what direction I'm going, if anybody listening or paying attention doesn't understand what Waldo's idea is, generally it's towards freedom. I want to aim towards more human freedom. And a felony charge for renting to someone who's not supposed to be in the country is not freedom. It is anti-freedom. Stopping people from coming across an imaginary line in the ground is not freedom. It's anti-freedom. We invented borders. Borders are not trees that grow out of the ground. They're not a hurricane that comes without us stopping it. They're not sunshine. We invented them. We created them. We drew them. We put them exactly where they are, and we can change them. We can make them work better.
You are overly idealistic.
Maybe. Most people aren't ready for the level of ideas that I've got. I am being overly idealistic. Yes, I agree. And I don't think felony charges for the people who are here illegally are a good idea.
Again,
a way to
you're
go.
misrepresenting.
Felony charges to the people who are, I mean, they've broken, I mean, okay, what did I misrepresent there? I might have.
The people who are here illegally are not the ones that are charged with the felony.
They're not charged with crimes for breaking immigration law?
They're charged for breaking immigration law. The
Okay.
people what you have highlighted, what
Okay.
you're describing right now, is the people that shelter, hire, and transport them.
Okay.
That is a U.S. citizen
Uh-huh.
who is making the choice to break the law.
If you can prove that they've made that choice.
If I can prove it, and if it can be proved, they should be subject to those charges. Right?
No, I don't think this law should exist at all. I don't think it should be a crime to rent to an illegal alien. I don't think that's illegal at all. I don't want that to be a felony. I don't want the government cracking down on that. That is a bad thing for the government to be spending its time doing. Because you know who needs to live in a house? Everybody. Even illegal immigrants need a house to live in.
You know they have houses.
They have houses.
In Venezuela.
In Venezuela.
And in Mexico.
In Mexico.
And in India.
And they're not allowed to have a house here.
No.
No, why not? Because they were born in Mexico? Because they were born in Venezuela? So that's anti-freedom. You're being anti-freedom right there. Somebody born in Venezuela doesn't get to come to America and rent a house. Because you've built walls. You've built a fortress. And say, no, you cannot come in.
Yeah.
So it's anti-freedom.
Anti-freedom for people that are not subject to our Constitution.
Oh, hi. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button. Press the subscribe button. If you want to tell me how right I am, feel free to leave a comment. If you want to tell me how wrong I am, leave a comment too. That's good. This is just kind of a hobby for me, so I appreciate you coming by, giving it a watch, and pressing the YouTube buttons. Thanks.